Are you worried that the concept of this video falls apart if yours is miles better than mine? What if I've done rubbish?
Welcome to the first episode of Noob versus Pro on Roll for Paint, where we get a noob and a pro to do a painting challenge. In this case, we painted the same miniature, which is Seng the Lion from Consult Miniatures, and if you want to check their website and whatnot, I will be leaving the links in the description. So this is George, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm George. I am Hermit Studios on socials. I am a commission-based miniature painter primarily, although I do dabble in digital art and the occasional physical piece, would you believe?
Nice.
Terrifying. A lot of what I do is character work for Dungeons and Dragons, sort of player characters.
For me, the point of having two people with different levels of expertise, by the way, are you okay?
I'm fine, I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I've consented.
For me, the point of having two different people with different levels of expertise is a way of basically seeing how differently you think if you have more or less experience. Maybe we'll realize that basically you go through the same struggle still. I also really like this type of content that I've watched on other channels like Miniac and Squidmar. They do like different challenges like this, and for me, I always learn a lot. I find it interesting because obviously I still connect to, a person that doesn't have a lot of experience, but also I want to get to that point where, I'm not struggling with things that, other people might think are quite basic. How long have you been painting, by the way?
I first picked up a paintbrush and put it to a mini when I was about 6 years old.
Okay.
But that is not to say that I've been painting since I was 6. That was just when I got into the hobby.
Yeah.
I took quite an extended break from it, probably when I was a teenager for maybe 10 years, and then came back to it just before the pandemic, actually. So I've been sort of painting properly for maybe 6, 7 years.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people with the pandemic, they restarted their journey.
Yeah, what else were you going to do? You can't go outside.
Yeah, I wish that was me, because at that time, I didn't know about it even. I don't even know what I was doing at that. I was just I don't know, playing video games maybe.
That's a bonus episode waiting to happen.
So yeah, I have George with me today. I've been to a few of his workshops, and I started doing the hobby with him. Quite literally, the first miniature I ever painted was with you. That little polar bear. I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
I wanted it to be a full circle moment where, it's been over a year for me now since I started. I probably don't paint as much as George does.
Used to.
Do you have any training in art stuff, really?
I have absolutely no formal training in art or any of that. The closest I have come is probably that time I went to one of Eric Swinson's workshops when he came over and hosted Light and Colour Element Games in Stockport over a couple of days. That was fantastic, but terrifying. And that was the point where I realised that I didn't know anything. And that is what sort of spurred me on to go and self-teach art from fundamentals. And that led into the sort of teaching side of things.
Nice. I'm very jealous that you got to meet him in person. Yeah, I actually got into Eric through you. I think I'd heard about his name before, but when I actually got to read the Art of Eric Swinson, that's when I was wow, insane. And then obviously he does Twitch streaming and feedback Fridays and whatnot. So I definitely recommend, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, it's a great place for learning, even for free. So we've basically kept our projects secret from each other. So we know we're doing the same miniature, but we don't know what each of us did. For me, it was a bit selfish because I know if I knew what George was doing and how good it was, I would feel intimidated. That's how I feel about it.
It's not a feeling I want you to have, really.
Well, this is the thing. I feel like I struggle with self-confidence a lot in my miniature painting. We all see, the big names, the Golden Demon winners, and, you open Instagram and you're like, oh, am I ever going to do something like that? So, yeah, I wanted to keep things a bit separate and also for it to be a surprise so we can reveal it now. I'll start with mine first. Go for it.
Is it like Christmas?
It's like Christmas, yeah.
Oh my. Is there a right way up? Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, the pressure. Oh, okay, we've gone in such different directions.
Yeah, I know. I knew we would. That's the thing. We're quite different.
Come out, Seng. Look at you. You were painting that in a workshop.
I know.
Oh, you've worked on this. You've worked hard. Okay, so my actual first thought was a bit of a cliche, but faces and bases, right? So is the face telling me something about what is happening? Yeah, absolutely. For a start, I think you've done a really good job of pushing contrast significantly more in that sort of facial area than necessarily. So, not to say there isn't contrast elsewhere, but the biggest differences are in that face, which kind of draws the eye towards it. Your brush control is really good. I mean, look at those eyes. I think what's interesting actually is you look like you've had the same struggle with the eyes that I did, where the eyes on the sculpt don't look like they belong to necessarily the same like line. There's like a weird asymmetry to them.
Right.
So I really struggled with where to put the specular highlights and things like that.
Okay.
And then, right, so onto the base, are we telling a story? We're absolutely telling a story. We've got this kind of deserty kind of vibe, and this poor chap presumably running for his life.
Yep.
I like these plants. Where's the plant from?
So it's a gamer's grass. You get like just one sheet with like all these leaves, pieces of paper basically, that then you bend. I would definitely recommend getting just for fun. Yeah,
I am a big fan of a bit of foliage, personally.
I'm glad you got the concept because that's something that's always in my mind.
No, if there's one thing that doing any level of art has taught me, it's that however obvious you think a thing is, you have to at least double the in-your-faceness for the message to really land a lot of the time.
I really like how the sculpt is quite active. You know, it's like in the middle of a movement. There's quite a lot of expression in the face. So I wanted to be playful. That's why I wanted him to just be doing something. And I know maybe you're not so much into dioramas and that kind of thing, but I feel like I always fall back on like different elements. Usually there's like 3 main ones. So like for me, it's like the lion, the rabbit, and like some foliage. So it's like a triangle. At first, actually, all I had on the base was like a ball. So the lion playing with the ball.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then there was gonna be like a goal that I was trying to sculpt. And I was like, it's playing football or it's playing with a ball. And basically it just didn't work. I just needed like another character basically.
Yeah.
Which when I found this mini within like all my other bits, I was like, oh, that's perfect. I really struggled with the base of the fur. I was looking at an actual picture of a lion, right? And in the desert, the tones of the fur look very muted, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get those tones like perfectly. But then when you look at it, it just looks like dirt. And also I was painting all the little hairs very close to each other. And I thought I was getting some texture, right? But it just was blending into each other too much. So then I kind of looked at my cats. And I was like, okay, so there's like different colors everywhere, basically. You know, hair's going like a brown hair going into one that's a bit lighter and like light catching and all that stuff. So like it's not all gonna be the same color, right? The other thing as well, I wanted something brighter. So I was like, scrape this like muddy tone and go for something that's not even like realistic anymore. And I just started with like this, it's called scrofulous brown, but it's basically like an ochre, like almost yellow really when you paint it, when you see it. Which again, like a lion's fur is not really that color, but I thought if I start with something that's more muted, then I'm gonna end up with something that's even more muted, and I'm just not gonna like it. I'm gonna end up like before. I made sure I was using like a really good tip on the brushes, and that was also like a journey of finding that, you know, it doesn't have to be the smaller brush that has the best tip. How do you find the perfect brush? Because I got like some brushes from Vallejo that were like very cheap, but they have some really good tips. And then you get something that's, you know, supposed to be like the artist opus or something. They're supposed to be, you know, the best of the best, but you might not get it's like a raffle almost. You might not get the best one, even if you pay for like the quality of it.
I found with brushes that buying in person is the closest I can get to a guaranteed, you know, really find what you want in a brush. I know for me, I just want a nice big well so that I don't have to go back to my palette so often, and a tiny little tip so I've got that control. And so I do use Artist Opus brushes, I will go to Element and I will have a look through them all and find the nice one, so to speak, and bring that one home. otherwise it can be a bit of a lottery, and price does not always translate to quality with those things.
And do you find yourself that, because you know it has to have a nice well, so do you find yourself using like number 2s more often, number 1, as opposed to like the 0, 0, 0, 0?
Oh, most of the time I'm on a 3 or a 4.
Oh,
for my
okay.
work.
Interesting that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if like even if they're bigger, if like they're gonna get even a better tip because they have more hair that, I don't know. Because I find like with the smaller ones, it just doesn't have the tip that I want.
Yeah, it feels almost as if it's like a column of bristles and they never come together at the top like you want them to. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think there are some exceptions to that. Like I do use a 000 for when it comes to eyes and stuff like that. I have a specific eye brush that comes out.
Right, okay, interesting.
Which is not a soap, it's a Da Vinci Maestro, I think. I got that several years ago and it's not let me down yet, so.
Yeah, so yeah, the fur was something that I was trying to get, obviously a very thin kind of stroke. It's something when you start as a beginner, it's like you struggle with that kind of stuff, and you know, you have to do it multiple times, and like every time you go to get more paint, like I usually do some testing on my hand just to make sure that I'm not gonna get like a blob in and basically just ruin everything. I actually left the face for last. Usually I would do it first, like if it's an actual, you know, a person or some creature that's more like humanoid. But with this one, I wanted to figure out what colors and what kind of, I don't know, vibe I was getting from the fur first. And then basically, like you said, I was actually trying to push the face to be like, have like those really nice highlights. Do you find yourself like leaving the face for last, or do you do it first? Because I know a lot of people do the most important bits first, then they do the rest, then they get back to the face to like complete it.
So I think I will make those sorts of decisions on a per miniature basis. A lot of it for me is about ease of access and size of area. I quite like to go get base colours on, get a base colour on everything. And then a lot of work that I do relies on oil washes. Because I'm quite into the idea. I watched a lot of Marco Frisoni in my formative years of learning to paint. So this idea of readily mixing washes that create quite nice even blends in the shadows, I find that is easier to do if you get block colours on everything, wash through really, and then, but the really intricate sort of stuff will generally be for last. I think I painted my face last. Before touch-ups and stuff like that, I left my face till last. But similarly, you know, sometimes there are parts of models that are really hard to get to and you wouldn't want to paint them after you've already worked on the rest of the mini. So yeah, a few things to weigh up on a per mini basis, but generally bases, washes, highlights, details.
Perfect.
You went volumetric on your highlights rather than just straight up edge highlighting.
Yeah.
How do you think that's come off?
I think it's come off well. I guess like because I don't really paint Warhammer and all that kind of miniatures for playing. I know they teach a lot to do edge highlighting. And it's just something that I've not really had to do or wanted to do. I really like the curls. Like they're so like satisfying to look at, but I really wanted to do them justice.
Yeah.
So I know you've lended me this book called FAQ.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Which has a lot of good specific knowledge about like how to paint reds, how to paint faces, how to paint fur, like very, very specific, amazing. And when I started reading it, I think I did the wrong thing of like wanting to read it from start to finish, absorb all the information, and then be overwhelmed. Obviously, like I didn't absorb all the information. There's bits and things that, yes, I did, but I think the best way really to do it is, you know, you have a problem, you try and search it in the book, that helps you. You'll remember after that. You'll remember better by doing than by actually reading or just like learning. And so I got this book in the hopes that it would be like the FAQ for dummies, basically. So this one is obviously sponsored by Vallejo, so it's like, they're only going to be using one set of paints. But it does have the thing where like you can go and search for like, oh, I want to learn magenta, I want to learn reds, give me some like formulas. So I did that for the red and the yellow. I got some inspiration. I didn't follow it like, you know, paint by paint, but basically giving me some ideas of like, if I want a warm red, I'll start with like this sort of tone, then I'll get this sort of tone, then I'll go to an orange at the end. I wouldn't necessarily say for someone to purchase this one specifically. I would probably say the more expensive one with more content is probably the best one to go. But I just found that like I probably need to invest in a few bits like that, you know, more books where I can, instead of, you know, trying to go and watch a tutorial or something, where it just has, it's less overwhelming. It's like I don't need to take like 20 minutes to watch it, for example, if it's a video. Barely any wording, it's like more images than anything else. But for this type of thing where I was struggling to like, you know, get the right paints on or trying to figure out what the transitions between all the paints was going to be, this kind of really helped me. So if you guys have any recommendations of books that help you the same way, I'd love to know, because I'm looking to invest in like something like that. And obviously I continue to use this one, but because this one is so paint specific or brand specific, that I know it's not, it's very limited because of that.
By Seng.
Well, your brother's coming, so this is my lunchbox. Whoa. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Completely different. Okay, I love the base, I love the colors. Like, I would never think of this. It's like, yeah, it's like a Pokemon. How did you come up with the color scheme?
I went and had a look into what Seng is.
Okay.
And I'm going to butcher the mythology now. But
Okay.
as far as I can tell, Seng is a sort of the bringer of winter, so to speak. So when I was putting this together, a lot of the images that you find of depictions of Seng in mythology, he is quite warm toned for, like he's very much white and green, like I've gone for, but he's warm whites and warm greens. And I thought, that's cool and all. Okay. But what if he was the cold side of winter?
Right.
Right, he's winter, let's make him cold.
Okay.
And also because that's where my favorite colors live on the color wheel. So 2 for 1, right?
Nice. I love how you have like the green, but the shadows are definitely like a magenta, I would say.
Yes, because when you can get magenta into a paint job, you should get magenta into a paint job.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a philosophy I live my life by.
And how did you do the snow base?
The snow is a combination of AK Interactive's snow effect. I think it's micro balloons and like a snow sprinkle paste or something like that. Essentially, one is a big thick white sheet of snow. One is the kind of icy glistening sort of parts that you get when water freezes around snow, and then the powdery stuff to sit on top and give it some slightly different texture.
Yeah. This versus this is so much more intimidating. Like it gives so much more mythical being. So tell me a bit about like what was your process like from, you know, what color did you base it, like all that kind of stuff?
When I need to do something that I know is going to rely on the saturation, and we're all about the colour more than necessarily the content, I reach for Molotov's One for All marker refills that you can just run straight through an airbrush, and you can therefore get this huge range of coloured acrylic primers, essentially. They will behave just like primers. So he is primed in turquoise all over. Anywhere that I wanted there to be less of a sort of feel of fur, or like the skin was particularly thin, so think his ribs, his face where he's got more of that magenta-y stuff going on. That then got quite a hot pink, bit of primer over the top of it to establish different tones in places where they were going to sit nicely against each other. If we think about our colour wheel, teal, pink, fairly opposite each other, get the contrast in early. And then from there, I think it's called Riviera Light or something like that, but it's essentially a very pale, bright white green as a zenithal over the top to sort of inform where my shadows were going to be. And from there, it's straight to oil washes. So we've got the goat, phthalo green, we love that thing. A sort of magenta-y, there's a dark blue in there. I can't remember exactly which blue it is, but they go on quite thick and are mashed around, allowed to mingle a little bit. And then I went quite heavy on the reduction of those. There'd been a matte varnish in between the priming and the oil wash that allows the miniature to hold on a lot more pigment. Matte varnish is rough, which is why it doesn't reflect nicely. So there's lots of tiny little grooves all over the miniature. They hold onto the pigment from the oil better. So you get a more saturated finish from the oil wash. Then from there, it is straight to the usual sort of layering and highlight approach, building up the greens into whites. White is still my mortal enemy.
I know.
I don't know many painters who don't find white to be the worst. So it, sort of picked that as a bit of a challenge of, can I make something look white without using any white at all?
Yeah. At first, when I looked at it, I was like, white body, green, kind of like hair, fur. But then as you look more, it's like icy green. And then as you look more, it's like, oh, but there's also like the contrast of the shadows. I can feel like the frost on his skin and like how frosty of a being it is. And it's like, you're not even using like, those frosty blues and whatnot. It's green, but it just looks so like almost, I feel the cold.
Well, I'm glad it's landing. That's really nice to hear. It relies on the idea that all colours are relative. If we think the famous dress, is it
oh yeah, oh my gosh,
blue and black, or is it white and gold? That was only because of the environmental lighting around it and the way that those two colours were interacting with each other. The same thing happens when we're painting miniatures. James Gurney has a book specifically on drawing from the imagination. So, we're talking about things that don't exist. You make up your own rules.
Yeah.
That book is very good at bringing together the rules with the lack of rules, so to speak.
Yeah. In terms of highlighting, what was the approach? Did you do any sort of dry brushing, or did you just like go with a brush as you normally would?
So for highlighting, the zenithal stage and the oil wash do an awful lot of the work themselves. And then from there, I am just touching up with a brush, and that was pure. There was no dry brushing involved in this at any point. It was just, I'm going to try and be very purposeful about where I put my highlights. Same as you, I suppose, yeah. And it was very much the curls, because the curls are so nicely sculpted on that. I was like, I have to try and make sure they're all reflecting light in a way that they should do. As soon as I'd finished, I kind of knew I hadn't really done what I wanted to with it, because I didn't treat that mane as one big volume as I should have done. I treated all the curls individually, and I think if I had my time again, I would have gone sphere. How does a sphere reflect light? And then make them all relative to each other within that. But
yeah,
it does okay. It does okay.
I think it's fine. I think it's from 0 to 10, maybe like a 5. No, I think it's really good. Like, I'm very impressed. Very impressed. I knew for certain that we were gonna do completely different things, because like I didn't even care to look who Seng was, or the mythology of it all. I basically rolled a die to figure out like what I was gonna do. So, and it came up with like desert and sand, and I was like, okay.
I mean, we've used different techniques and we've gone for very different vibes. But I think the way they've come out, I think they both have that kind of playfulness to them. The sculpt does a great job of that, but
yeah, it's a great sculpt.
Yours has brought out, I think, what the sculptor was aiming for in terms of personality.
Maybe.
Despite the vibes being so different.
For me, this one is like terrifying. This one is playful, and this one is terrifying.
Yeah.
The face, because there's like all these like darker magenta shadows, it gives me like villain vibes.
Do you know, when I was painting it, I thought, if somebody sees this and thinks I've painted Seng as a zombie, I wouldn't be too upset about that. I don't mind a little feeling of almost undead in him.
Yeah. No, I love it. Really good. So now we're gonna have our final judge to say which one is better.
Oh no.
No pressure.
I didn't think you were gonna go for such a large base.
I thought that when you were talking about dioramas and how that's not my thing, I thought, I'm going to break out a mini diorama in a second.
I know. What vibes are you getting from each? Because I feel like they're quite different.
I'm getting desert lion catching a Easter bunny.
Yeah.
From this. And then this is like Narnia vibes.
Oh, Narnia. Okay. Yeah. Fantasy, mythical, otherworldly.
Yeah, I like that it's purple bits here. I guess they're the shadows, and I like that he hasn't used that many colors, but it still like doesn't blend together. It's like the gradient is very good. This one, I like the fact that I can see that the light is coming from here.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
This one
light
is definitely more uniform.
Yeah.
This was kind of the idea of when you're in snowy environments, there is so many white surfaces for light to bounce off, so you get a kind of diffuse. So I tried not to go too directional with it, with the exception of like the extremes of curves where you would get the sun directly.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I don't even know how I choose. Like, if I'm looking from above, they're actually really similar.
Yeah, we've both read the shapes correctly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you're asking for my opinion. I just think they're awesome, both of them.
Okay, so I win.
No.
Well done.
Thank you.
You've let yours have fur.
Yeah.
So I can see, you know, that you've done quite a good job of creating that fur texture. I saw mine and I went skinny, emaciated lion in the winter.
What did you enjoy most about this challenge?
So what I actually really liked was my painting time isn't comprised at all of things that I want to paint for me, generally. Like I'm always doing commissions and stuff that people have got inputs and requirements for. So, and I remember asking you, what do you want me to do with this? And I think you said something like, have the most fun you can with it. So from that perspective, just being able to go, what do I do with paint when there are no requirements in front of me? That was fantastic. And also the curls in the fur. Oh. I don't know how many times we've gushed over the curls in the fur yet, but I'll do it at least once more before the video's over. Yeah. And I've really enjoyed like seeing yours, and I don't know how different. I sort of assumed that we would both paint a white lion with green fur just based on the fact that that's like the box art on the thing, and that's the mythology that informs the mini. And you've just gone and done your own thing, and I love that. Yeah,
I mean, for me, obviously, I don't do commissions. I've tried to do like stuff for my brother, for example, for his own games, and it just becomes a bit of a burden when I have to do it. For this one, it's like, have the most fun. Which is also what I try to do with like YouTube videos. Actually, your paint job got me inspired to try different things. I know you use oils. Also, you use like different tones for your like zenithal highlights and whatnot. So it just inspired me to like maybe not work from just like a black base color and then starting to put stuff on top. Maybe start to build up before, because I didn't even do any zenithal or anything. And also trying the oils, which I've done already a little bit, but it's something I definitely want to get more into because I think it just gives it so much character. With acrylics, I think the saturation is a lot harder to maintain. And also, I actually don't feel as bad about my little line as I thought I would. I just feel happy for the both of us.
Oh, I love that.
I know.
Love that.
Yeah.
I think you should be very pleased with that.
In general, I just want other people to do better than me so then I can copy them. That's always my thinking. I want to see like what you do next as well. I really like your posts on Instagram and your stories and everything. And like, what do you have coming up? Do you have any special plans?
So a lot of my calendar this year is going to be taken up with book illustrations. I'm lined up to do the artwork for a fantasy trilogy called A Tale of Amethyst is the trilogy by Deborah Tamber. Fantasy trilogy. Book 2 is coming out this year, and I have to get book 3's artwork done by November. And for anyone who knows about The Word and the Nerd from Society, they released the Arcane Toolkit last year. There is another project in the works.
Okay, all right.
At some point, I won't say. I don't know how much they're revealing about that, so I won't say.
If it's out, links will be in the description.
Yeah. Beyond that, I think I've got a couple of miniatures to do, but I've tried to leave a little bit of space for my own D&D campaigns. It's like a pirate type thing.
Okay.
A pirate type thing. It's a pirate-based D&D campaign, and I'm doing the characters for it. So
okay,
so do that.
Sounds like you have a lot going on then.
Yeah, some would say too much.
Sounds like it, but I think it'll be fine.
It's gonna be okay.
Amazing. Thank you, George, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Go and follow George's Instagram and let us know what did you think about this challenge and this type of content as well. I'm Mart, this is Roll Paint, and I'll see you in the next one. Awesome.
That's so cool. I really like your oranges.
Thank you.
I feel like we found a thing with orange. It's the magic of editing.
Exactly.
Like snip, snip, snip.
It's just going to be...